Kita niyo naman, no?
Yes.
Alright, okay. So, index. Start tayo sa index like we always do. 7,200 ang index for those who are new in the market. The index is the top 30 companies in the stock market. So, all in all, meron tayo siguro mga 200 plus, 250, 270, mga ganong number of companies listed in the stock market, in the stock exchange. No? So, yung PSEI, which is the index, um, it comprises the top 30 in terms of market capitalization, meaning yung mga malalaking companies na malalaki yung value ng mga uh, ng companies nila. So market capitalization is that yung na-raise nilang money via investing or gaano kalaki yung money nila within the market, 'di ba? So yun yung basehan on how to become the top 30 within the top 30. So dito papasok yung mga Ayala, mga BDO, SM, yan yung mga kilala nating mga brands. Of course, aside from the top 30, meron ding mga big companies who are outside of the index, who are outside of the top 30. Um, and yung mga outside of the top 30, some of these are big companies, some are smaller companies, well, some companies you've never heard of. So, pero itong PSEI is a good indication of, since maliit lang yung stock exchange natin, yung number of companies that we have within the stock market. The PSEI or the Philippine Stock Exchange Index pretty much represents what's happening within the market. Of course, that doesn't mean na if bumaba yung index, walang opportunities. Meron pa rin. Like I said, there are other companies pa within the market. So, each company can be an opportunity depending on how you assess or ano yung basa nyo dun sa mga charts or how you perceive a company. So, yun, index fell to around 7,200 last week. We were at around 7,300. And this week, we're still within that range na yung sinasabi natin, the 7,000 to 7,400. So, nandun pa rin tayo naglalaro within that range. So, we're still hovering above the 7,000 psychological support. So, any break that happens below this, ibig sabihin, pag bumaba tayo below this, we could drop the index could drop further to around 6.5, no? So, it's something to, ngayon, so far, medyo malayo pa, but with most of the non-index stocks moving na, pagpapansin niyo ngayon, most of the ones moving or gaining are stocks that you don't really know much about, di ba? It's not the big companies na nagmo-move. So, yun din yung reason kung bakit hindi masyado nagmo-move yung index within that 7,000 to 7,400 range. And that can signify an exhaustion already, meaning most of the index stocks are overbought. Masyado ng mahal or mataas yung value na na-perceive ng isang investor doon sa mga companies na yun. So, with this, correction is still a possibility. Correction meaning pwede pang bumaba further. Like I said, if we break the 7,000 support, pwede pang bumaba yan to around 6,500. So, we'll have to watch that. So, if you are an investor na long-term, dito ka mas magiging cautious or mas magiging dito mo titingnan. Well, kung long-term ka naman, sasabihin mo, okay lang naman long-term eh, di ba? So, which is good. Pero for new investors, usually, nangyayari, invest ako sa isang sure na company, kunyari, SM or Ayala Corp. And then, since new investor ka, you don't really know ano yung takbo or how the market goes or how the stock prices go. So nangyayari, pagka-invest ko ngayon, minsan the following day magko-correct. So parang magkakaroon ka ng konting fear na kung tama ba yung ginagawa mo. So that's why it's important to know kung ano yung tinatakbo ng index or ng certain stock, even the big ones, even the big stocks. Kasi bumababa rin yan. So if you are not um, confident pa or hindi ka pa masyadong maalam dun sa nangyayari, you might magkaroon ka ng more fear in reinvesting. Di ba? Kasi kunyari, bumili ka ng Ayala, AC yata is around, tingnan ko kanina, nasa 800 something, 812, 15, mga ganyan. So let's say, bumili ka nun. Ay, Ayala naman to eh. 815, okay lang yan. Pwede ako bumili. Long term naman ako. Diba? Tapos in the next few weeks, bigla bumaba to around 770. Diba? Medyo malaking move na rin yun. Diba? More than 5% move. Hindi, 7, yeah, mga ganon. Medyo malaking move na rin yun. So, baka kabahan ka. Ayoko na, hindi na ako hindi ko na itutuloy ito kasi bumagsak na, bumaba na. Diba? So, understanding the index and how these things move is very important. So, kaya naman nandito tayo. So, don't feel free if you have questions, feel free to input them sa chat box, 'di ba? Para um, yung para masagot namin if you have questions. All right. So, national news. Okay, important din mga national news because these news can be the catalyst on how the market moves, 'di ba? Moody's invest last week, binanggit natin that the Fitch maintained our rating of BBB, which is investment grade pa rin, or and of good stable rating in terms of being able to the in terms of our capacity to pay our debts or our mga utang natin. So this time si Moody's naman expects the economy to grow by around 7% this year. Of course, any growth this year would be welcome considering that last year talagang nag-contract yung economy natin, meaning hindi nag-grow. Okay? Hindi nag-grow. So yun. Hopefully, matuloy nga, magkaroon nga tayo ng 7% growth this year. Although the recovery is still not expected to be on the level of the pre-pandemic levels. But we probably are on our way there. If not this year, maybe next year. And cash remittances coursed through banks increased by 0.3% year on year, meaning tumaas ng konti. But still low considering dahil nga merong pandemic and even in other countries there have been lockdowns as well. So yung mga cash remittances mas parang ang expectation is higher. From last year, it was higher, pero by just 0.3%. The expectation was a little higher than 0.3%. Sana. But it is what it is dahil nga sa pandemic. So, it's still not bad. Kumbaga. Alright, and then ito, binabantayan din natin to. Bad debts held by big banks continue to edge higher in November. Meaning non-performing loans hit 3.81% ratio by end of November. Before November, it was 3.73%. So yung mga dumadami, yung mga hindi kayang magbayad ng mga loans nila. And that's the reason why, di ba yung Bayanihan 2, yung Bayanihan Act, that's being that was passed by the Congress and the Senate would be a key factor in the recovery, diba, of our economy. Kasi nga, merong mga conditions doon about debts, yung mga loans, how you could be more flexible with your banks, ano yung pwede mong i-renegotiate with your banks. So, nandun naman naka-indicate ano yung mga terms na and the mga banks are quite lenient and flexible in terms on their terms, di ba? On how to stagger the payment or yung interest payments para hindi ka mabaon lalo sa utang. Okay? But again, another thing that we should be watching out for. Pero we're still good. 3.8% is not as a very big ratio. All right, corporate updates. Ayala Corp increased their capex by 25 billion and they expect a 5 to 6% growth. Pinag-usapan lang natin kanina si AC. Um, so, any growth, like I said kanina, any growth after last 2020's contraction of the economy would be really welcome, would really be a welcome sight. No? So, for businesses, it's the same thing. Since ang companies were also heavily affected, even the big ones, by the pandemic and the lockdowns, diba? Even now they are still being affected kasi hindi naman normal times eh. When you go to the malls or some of the businesses that are renting maybe are not, paying the full amount na they're usually paying, diba? Mga ganon. So affected din sila. So it's a welcome sight to see na hopefully it becomes into fruition na 5 to 6% growth na makuha ng a company like Ayala Corp. And then fruit, one of the madalas to nalalagay sa corporate news natin kasi it's one of the stronger companies siguro amidst the pandemic. Expanded also their capex to fund its expansion and future plans. I think they plan to expand their product line. Di ba? May ice cream na rin sila ngayon, like we mentioned before. So first quarter of the year, I think they plan to release two new concepts, and then they also plan to expand number of kiosks na i-open nila. If you're not familiar with Fruit, they are the ones they are the company behind Frutas, yung naggagawa ng mga shakes, 'di ba? So yun yung they also expanded capex, meaning they are financially capable and ready despite all those things that happened. Meron silang pera to still proceed with any expansion or future plans nila in acquiring maybe certain companies to expand their product lines or expand their business. So this is another good news. So hindi lahat ng naririnig natin has been bad news from companies, pero a lot of companies are still very maganda pa rin yung future. The future is really looking good pa rin for them. Although the recovery might be slow, pero they are still pushing through with any plans that they have, di ba? Kasi meron naman yung mga emergency fund or however you call it for the companies. All right. So, yep, that's it for our quick market updates. Uy, dami na natin. Dami na natin bigla pag